to talk to Jesus. It's another thing when Jesus talks to you.
Exactly. Okay, well, that's different. That's different.
That's called mental illness, if I'm not correct. My question is, can he talk to Mary Magdalene without his wife in the room?
It's another thing when Jesus talks to you. That's called mental illness. That was Joy Behar yesterday on The View. They were responding to a clip from Omarosa where she was talking about her time at the White House, and she said that Mike Pence said Jesus tells him to say things, and that's what precipitated that conversation.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn about keep your rolling clips of The View because we're making it relevant again. I like life when for 5 years we ignored The View.
You aren't interested in the crazy things they say to America?
Not really, because we give them ratings and they stay on television.
Well, let's ask Tomi. Tomi Lahren, she's a Fox News contributor. She's been following this story, and we wanted to have you on to get your opinion about it. What do you think about Joy Behar mocking the vice president for his Christian faith?
Well, who is she to judge how often our vice president should speak to his Lord and Savior? Who is she to mock anyone for their faith? These people are really, really amazing to me because they preach day in and day out about tolerance and love for everyone except conservative Christians. And then they can mock you and it's funny and you're something that they can use for their jokes around the table and they can all cackle about it. It's really disgusting, not surprising, but disgusting.
If you want Joy Behar to be quiet, just say that maybe someone is speaking to Allah and Allah talks back. She would not be mocking that.
No, of course not. And that's exactly the thing with these ladies, is that in the next segment, they'll probably talk about how horrible our president and our vice president is. But in the segment prior to that, they mock Christians. Again, they live in a world where men can be women, women can be men. But if you're a conservative Christian, you have a mental illness. There's something wrong with the women at that table, for sure.
You know, I just felt sorry for her. As a Christian, obviously, she doesn't know Christ. She doesn't know the joy and the love that he provides to so many people. And so it just made me feel sorry for her.
I think she's Jewish, isn't she?
And Meghan McCain said Jesus speaks to her every morning. So you got both sides of it.
Joy Behar, not Jewish, according to Toba.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Right.
Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit about one high school. Tommy, they wanted to ban the national anthem from pep rallies because they say that the third verse of the Star-Spangled Banner is racist.
Well, again, I hope that Colin Kaepernick and his friends are mighty proud of themselves because they created this trend and it continues onward. And now it's touched high schools, it's touched elementary schools, it's touched sports teams, it's touched every corner of this nation. And it's really sad. Since when did the national anthem become a partisan thing? Since when did it become a racist thing? This is something that all Americans used to stand for, put their hands over their hearts, and believe in. This was something that as Americans united us. And once again, we've got certain individuals in this country that have made it mainstream to disrespect the country, disrespect the flag, disrespect the anthem. And again, I don't think that these children at a young age, I don't think that they understand the ramifications of that. I don't think they understand how it feels to be a veteran or a police officer or someone that flag means so much to. I don't think they understand the disrespect. And that's what's really sad about it, is they're doing it and they don't understand what it really means to others.
Well, if they're not going to play the national anthem as a song at the beginning, what song should they play? That's the question.
Right. A lot of people like God Bless America bad, but I don't think they're looking to substitute that. This letter is from the student body president. Says, we understand that this third verse is not included when the anthem is performed, but still, what does this tell us? This verse translated finds joy in the killing of African Americans. To think that our national anthems once had the words slave and land of the free in the same sentence leaves me speechless. Now let's talk about something that we're reporting on way too much, and that is the shooting of a police officer, 2 over the weekend in Ohio, and then we lost the commander in Chicago, Commander Paul Bauer. Last year at this time, we had 5 officers dead. That's 5 too many. But now we're up to 11. What is going on?
Well, the war on cops is certainly real, but I think beyond that, it's up to us to make it mainstream to discuss the lives of these police officers, to honor them, because if we remember them, we remember their memory, their legacy can truly live on. So beyond this, beyond talking about how sad it is and the statistics and how deadly even the year 2016, 2017 was for law enforcement, I think moving forward, it's up to us and it's up to networks, especially Fox News, to talk about the lives of these officers and to truly appreciate them, because I know it means the world to their families when we do so. They put so much out on the line each and every single day. They do it for little praise and not enough money, and it's up to us to salute them. And again, any officer lost is one too many, and my heart really breaks for their family members in the community because you can tell he was greatly loved.
Indeed, he was. All right. Tomi, thank you very much for joining us from the West Coast this morning.
Thanks, Tom. The panel on The View mocking Vice President Mike Pence for saying that he talks to Jesus. Watch.
I think when you have a Mike Pence that now sort of puts this religious veneer on things and calls people values voters, I think we're in a dangerous situation. I'm a faithful person, but I don't know that I want my vice president you know, speaking in tongues and having Jesus speak
like
to
I said before.
I don't know if I want that.
It's one thing to talk to Jesus. It's another thing when Jesus talks to you. It's called mental illness, if I'm not correct.
But I'm
hearing voices.
Pastor Robert Jeffress is a senior pastor at First Baptist Church and a faith advisor to President Trump. Pastor Jeffress, thanks for coming on this morning. I'm sure that you're having a reaction just hearing that again. What is it?
Well, look, let's just go ahead and say what we all know is true. If Joy Behar had attacked a devout Muslim for his faith, ABC would have fired her in a nanosecond. But, you know, to the left, when it comes to attacking conservative Christians, it is always open season. And, you know, I'm often asked, why is it that evangelicals supported a secular candidate like Donald Trump by the largest margin in history? This is the reason. Christians are tired of being bullied for their faith in the public square. They wanted an administration who would respect rather than ridicule their beliefs. And in many ways, the election of Donald Trump and Mike Pence was a reaction against these kind of despicable attacks upon people's faith.
Why do you think that they have such a problem with the vice president and his beliefs?
Well, scratch beneath the surface or read what they've said in the past, and it's very clear. Mike Pence has committed the unpardonable sin when it comes to the left, and that is he still maintains the personal belief that marriage should be between a man and a woman. And look, everybody doesn't agree with that perspective. He understands that, but you can hardly call that an extreme perspective when it's the belief of the three major world religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, which have taught that for years, thousands of years. And look, this once again shows the hypocrisy of the left. The left cries for tolerance, and yet they are the most intolerant people when it comes to beliefs with which they disagree.
You also have a prediction to make about the next presidential election if the left continues to keep up their ridicule of conservative Christian beliefs.
Look, I told President Trump last week he has become the most faith-friendly president in history, and his selection of Vice President Pence is just one example of that. But if Joy Behar and her ilk continue these kind of unfounded attacks, you're going to see President Trump reelected by a landslide in 2020, and you're going to see Vice President Pence become President Pence in 2024. That's my prediction.
I've got to leave it there, Pastor, but final word to you on Mike Pence and his response to this. We have not yet seen or heard a response from him. Do you think he should respond?
My guess is you will hear a very gracious response in some form very soon.
Pastor Jeffress, thanks for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
When I talk about the Democrats being at a complete disconnect with the American people, nowhere is this more obvious than when it comes to disdain for religion. So yesterday on The View, Joy Behar, who is just an insufferable human being, Joy, which, again, Joy, have me on your show, right? I know that's a hell of a pitch. You're insufferable, have me on your show. But nonetheless, The View, I think they are probably a little afraid to have me on that show, which I would be too if I were their producers. In any case, Joy Behar goes after Mike Pence yesterday in the most disgusting terms about his religious observance.
It's one thing to talk to Jesus. It's another thing when Jesus talks to you.
Exactly. Okay, well, that's different. That's different.
That's called mental illness, if I'm not correct.
But I'm
hearing voices.
Okay, so just to be straight about how the left views religious people, if you say that you heard the voice of God, okay, what you mean usually, okay, let me just explain on behalf of religious people everywhere. When you say that you got a message from God, you don't actually mean that God sent you an email. Okay, it's not Bruce Almighty. This is not God picks up the phone and calls you. It's not Joan of Arc. You're hearing actual godly voices. What you get is a feeling that perhaps you're acting in consonance with your meaning in the universe, okay? That you're acting in consonance with what God wants of you as you can decipher it in his word. Okay, that's what we mean as religious people. We don't mean that we're sitting around and Jesus starts talking to us. Say, ha, this is Jesus, okay? That's not what we mean. Mike Pence, I don't know why he has a Southern accent either, but the idea that Mike Pence is sitting around in the VP office waiting for Jesus to give him orders is insipid. I will also point out that Joy Behar would be the first person to say that men who say they are women do not have a mental illness. So if you're a man and you say you're a woman, you're not mentally ill. If you're a woman and you say you're a man, you're not mentally ill. But if you're a religious person and you say that you are trying to believe according to the dictates of Jesus and that you feel that you've gotten messages from Christ in your life, that this means that you're a full-on nutso. It's that sort of disdain for religion that is driving millions of people in the United States away from people like Joy Behar. It's not just Joy Behar. One of the people who's been most irritating about the Olympics is an ice skater named Adam Rippon. He's gay, which wouldn't make a difference, except he has made this the entirety of his identity. And when I say, I mean, like, he's made it his entire public persona. Not that he's a great ice skater, which apparently he is, but that he is gay and that he hates Mike Pence. So he apparently was ripping on Pence for being at the Olympics in the first place, suggesting that Mike Pence was for gay conversion therapy. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. This is not true. There is no evidence to support it whatsoever. Doesn't matter. He trotted that out. And then when Pence said, you know what? That's not true about me. I'd love to sit down with you. Rippon said, I'll never meet with you. So obviously a very tolerant dude. Well, yesterday he came out and he says, listen, I don't want my Olympic experience to be about Mike Pence. So let's get this straight. You punch Mike Pence in the face rhetorically, and then you run screaming from the room. And then you say you don't want your Olympic experience to be about Mike Pence because you've implied that religious people all over the United States hate gay folks. And here is Adam Rippon doing the same routine.
And I don't want my Olympic experience to be about Mike Pence.
Well, it's a little late for that. It's a little late for that. You rip Mike Pence as a religious bigot. And then you come out and you say, well, I don't want my Olympic experience to be like that. Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to rip Mike Pence as a religious bigot, and by extension, all of the people in America who are evangelical Christians as religious bigots. It's not just that, okay? The culture wars that the left launched brought them Trump. Okay? When I say this is how you got Trump, this is how you got Trump. You got a bunch of people in America who feel like they are constantly being set upon and torn to shreds for simply being religious people or simply being white, right, in some cases, based on the intersectional politics of the left, or simply for being in a Midwestern state. Right? There are all these groups that the left has seen as great oppressors in American life, white folks, males, religious people. And then the left sets upon those people, and those people say, well, you know what? I'm going to vote for that guy who at least doesn't crap on me all the time. But this is what the Democratic Party does. This is what people on the left do on a routine basis. You want to reach out to folks, you want to win elections, then maybe you ought to stop trying to alienate them with incredibly radical language. And maybe you ought to stop with the fawning media coverage for social issues that are at best deeply controversial. So CNN, for example, has a piece today about this tragic case where parents want custody of their 17-year-old girl. Okay, listen to how CNN covers this. Here's the story, okay? I'll tell you the story. It's a 17-year-old girl. She thinks she's a boy, right? She's transgender. And so she wants hormone treatment. And she went and she got some doctors who say that she should have hormone treatment. And then she tried to have custody handed over to the grandparents. The parents said, listen, you're going to be 18. When you're 18, we can't do anything to stop you. But when you're 17, not on our watch. On our watch, you're not going to have surgeries and mutilate your genitals. You're not going to have surgeries and mutilate your breasts. We're not going to allow you to have hormone treatment and mutilate your body. That's not something that we're going to allow you to do because we don't think that that is the best treatment. We don't think that the scientific evidence is there. Okay, the scientific on this stuff, evidence on this is at best mixed. It is at best mixed. There are studies that suggest that suicidality, the suicide attempt rate goes down for people who attempt transgender surgery. There's also some evidence that suggests that after a certain period of time, the suicide rate goes back up. So the evidence is just not, it's not perfect in any direction. This is not a cure-all by any stretch of the imagination. But here is how this is going down. CNN writes, quote, an Ohio court will decide the fate of a transgender teen who is in what the judge describes as a gut-wrenching situation. The 17-year-old identifies as a boy. Neither he nor his family can be named according to court instructions. So notice already how CNN starts calling this girl he. Right? This is a biological woman, and CNN is already calling this girl he in order to bias the case. Because if the parents won't acknowledge it, CNN will. The teen's parents want court authority to stop their child from getting the treatment and therapy that was recommended by his medical team in what it characterizes as a possible life or death situation. What makes it a life or death situation? Apparently, the teen is suicidal. And they're suggesting that the cure for the suicidality is hormone treatment and or genital disfigurement. And that is what this team of medical experts suggest. Well, maybe there's another team of medical experts that suggests differently. And the parents could consult a variety of medical experts. But now, Courts in the United States are going to talk about, this is going to be the next step. You want to talk about culture wars? This is the culture war. The next step is going to be you have a 5-year-old child, and your child says that she is a he, and you say, sweetheart, no, you're not. You're going to outgrow this. You know, we'll go and we'll talk to somebody about this, but you're a girl, and we're going to try and get through this together in the best, most healthy possible way. Courts will be sent in by the left to take your child away from you. This is the next step. It's already happening in Canada under Bill C-16, and this is what they're going to do. And according to CNN, the teen was hospitalized in 2016. He had been diagnosed with depression and anxiety disorder and gender dysphoria, according to court records. This is the key, by the way. This is the reason why the APA's evidenceless reclassification of gender identity disorder to gender dysphoria actually matters. So gender identity disorder suggests that that when you are disordered, right, when you're a male who believes that you're a female, that this is a disorder, and associated with that disorder are depression and upset, right, but it is a disorder that must be treated head on. Gender dysphoria, they say that's perfectly normal. It's perfectly normal if you're a man who believes you're a woman. The only thing that's problematic is if it crosses over with depression. Right? There's no actual delusion. You're actually a man in a woman's body, but it's only a problem if you're depressed. So the idea is if you treat the depression, then you'll be alleviating the gender dysphoria. The evidence for this is nil. It does not exist. The idea that if you alleviate all of the life forces, that the suicide rate goes down to normal, non-disordered levels is just not true. Right? There's no evidence that the suicide attempt rate in the transgender community post-surgery, or if everybody calls you by your preferred pronoun, goes down to the normal rate of a normal man or a normal woman who does not believe they're a member of the opposite sex. Doesn't matter. The court is probably going to try and take away this kid and give the kid to the grandparents, who apparently are going to go along with the treatment. And they're saying that apparently the attorney for the family says the parents maintain that they love their child, and said the child's mother said the child has nothing to fear from her and she wants to have a relationship with her child. She also acknowledged that if the parents are granted custody, they want the child to continue to live with the maternal grandparent, not in an effort to avoid parenting their child, but because they believe that the current living arrangements is in the teen's best interest. But they say this kid is not capable of making a life-altering decision right now. The court is going to disagree, and they're going to say that if they call the kid by the kid's normal name, if they say that the she is a she, then the kid is going to commit suicide. That means that it's on the parents. This is a very dangerous precedent that's being set. It's the reason why we're in the middle of a brutal culture war, and there are political aspects to this that are really a problem, that are a serious problem.